Niall and I are here at the Grand Canyon. We're getting ready to start our hike. We're driving back to Hermit's Rest. So we are going to do a 4-day, 3 overnight hike of the Grand Canyon. This is exciting. This is an awesome father-son thing. What did you say when you saw the Grand Canyon for the first time?
It's bigger than the other ones.
Bigger than the ones from then. What'd you say?
I don't know.
We're gonna hike up and down that?
Yeah.
Yep. So there's only one way to go. I said to Niall, if you get scared or if it's too hard, we can turn around. And then what'd you say?
Well, we're not turning around.
We're not turning around, so we're gonna do it. It's 1:30 local time. We're starting our hike. We just parked down here at the end and we're walking to the start of the trailhead. So here we go.
Yeah.
Just look from the top of where we're starting. I think way out there is where we're going to camp tonight. Probably half a mile.
I don't know how far we've gone.
Yeah, we're already talking about the backpacks being heavy, but we're going to make it. We're going to make it. So we're coming up to the intersection here of, I believe, the Hermit Trail and the Dipping Springs Boucher Trail. So off to the right is the way that we're going to be coming up on, and a few days from now. Left is where we're going now. Good view. I believe that is Yuma Point. That's where we're camping tonight. I believe we kind of hike along this layer right here around to the point. That is Hermit's Rest. I don't even know where it is. Probably up there, somewhere on the top there. That's where we started. That's a long drop. Still working around that bend. Going up and over.
Bumblebees.
Ooh, bumblebees. The big old bumblebee. You wouldn't want to get stung by that. Niall, were you afraid at all?
No.
No. And here's kind of the trail headed north. You can see not a sharp drop off. Not nearly as bad as what I thought it was going to be. I'm kind of afraid of heights. I don't know about you, are you?
I don't know.
No? Well, I guess not. He's doing pretty good, so.
We're at Dripping Springs and the Boucher Trail.
Boucher Trail.
Yeah, I butchered that
So
name.
there's a natural spring up that way. And here's the marker for the Boucher Trail. So we're going to start to head north again. I got really excited because I was like, oh, we're going to eat really good tonight. That's the biggest piece of asparagus I've ever seen. It's asparagus season back in Iowa and we're missing it, which is kind of a bummer, but I think that's like the flowering portion of this cactus here. So probably in a few weeks I bet that flowers, but yeah, no asparagus tonight, Niall.
Yeah.
All right, it's 6 p.m. We decided to move on a little further to get all the way to the point. We just caught our first glimpse of the river, which is right there. So I'm no canyon expert, but we were pretty lucky with this overcast day. We're trying to make it around and set up camp to catch the sunset here. Thankful for the overcast. The sun's coming out on the rocks. Down here, I think that's Grand Rapids. We just caught the first glimpse of the Colorado River. So we're almost to the end of our day. And somewhere over there is where we started, is Hermit's Rest. So here's where we're camping our last night, Hermit Rapids. Right down there. All right, we made it. We got some neighbors down here over the hill, but at least the view isn't bad. This is Yuma Point up there. And I found a nice flat spot for our campsite. Tent. Aren't you glad we pushed it all the way to get here now?
Yeah.
Yep. It's nice having the packs off though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So pretty sunset here at Yuma Point. So pretty good first day. Niall, what was our character lesson for today?
Don't turn back.
Don't turn back. And so we talked about all the people in history that had opportunities to turn back. And you don't really hear about the ones that do turn back. Like, now, what were the two Israelite spies that went in to spy and came back with a good report? Do you remember their names?
J- Caleb and Joshua.
Yep. Can you name any of the other 10? There was 12 total. Can you name the other 10?
No,
You know why?
because they were cowards.
Because they're cowards and wimps, and we don't remember wimpy people in history. And so when we were coming down, this has kind of been a little, I've been nervous for a couple weeks to do this just because I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns. And, but God tells us that it's not by our strength, but by His strength. And obviously hiking the Grand Canyon is not something that is really, I guess, spiritual or accomplishing anything, but certainly we can learn lessons from it. And so, we talked about George Washington at Valley Forge. He didn't give up. And I was even thinking about people during like the civil rights movement, like Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. They took stands, and we remember them because they're not cowards. And so as we hike, that's one of the things that we're going to focus on is persevering and enduring. It's not going to be easy. I think the hardest days are yet to come, but we're going to persevere and not turn back and not give up right now.
Yep.
"5:45 a.m. Sunrise here at the Grand Canyon. It was super windy last night, but man. New day. God's mercies are new each day. And 360-degree view. Sunrise. It's about 7 o'clock on day 2. So our goal today is to get down to Boucher Creek and camp, and then if we have the energy, we'll make it down to the river. How's that sound?
Okay, let's do it.
Yep, we have the opportunity to turn around. You want to turn around?
No.
Nope, we're going to make it. Pretty much just like really steep, almost, probably more than a 45-degree angle going down. We put up our trek poles and we're just kind of using our hands to balance ourselves. The sketchy part's over. We just came down that whole ledge right there. Still heading down. I think that is what they call White's Butte. So we're gonna, I can't see the trail, but somehow come along here and then drop over top of that down to the creek and the river. Trail's about ready to drop down again, just kind of.
Could have gone down that way.
Yeah,
Probably.
there's a fork in the road. We didn't know what way to go, so we divided and conquered. This way looked better, though. I think they probably both meet up. So we're about 2 hours into our hike today, maybe an hour and a half. And our character lesson today that we're going to focus on is with God, all things are possible. And so we just got done with the part of the hike that I was most nervous about because you can't see the trail. I looked on topographic maps and was like, how in the world does the trail drop that steep? And then I looked on like Google Earth and things, and you can't even see the trail. and it was hard to follow even at some points, but we got down. So we started the day up here. You can't see it because of the sun, but Yuma Point is way up there. And we came, this doesn't even do it justice, but from way up there. And you cannot see the trail, but we just got down, and I realized that you know, sometimes we don't see the way, but God sees the way. The humanistic worldview will teach us that if we just make our mind up, we can accomplish anything. I don't agree with that. The Bible says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and it's only by God's strength. So even though we don't see the way, God usually provides a way and gives us the strength to accomplish things. And so we're gonna keep hiking down, and we've dropped into Tavertine Canyon now. Still amazed that a trail can come down all that. It looks impossible, but it's not, obviously.
Echo!
If I ever do this again, look at that camp spot down there. How cool would it be to camp right here at right at the top of the Tavertine Canyon, out of the wind. All this, that would be pretty cool. Nice little campsite here on the flat. There's White's Butte, Yuma Point, and right, not focusing because my finger, right up there is where we camped. And then right over here is where we came down. Now that's where we came from, but we cannot find the trail. This is just like a plain. White's Butte is right there. So we're having difficulty finding the trail, so we're gonna have to search around. It drops down into here somewhere. All right, after some wandering and checking the maps, we found the trail again. Fine now.
Shoe prints.
Shoe prints. So somebody's been here. So we are on the right trail. So we're gonna drop down along these limestone cliffs along White's Butte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was easy, everyone would do it. Yesterday, and I had my knees like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm not doing that again. Gonna keep my knees bent.
Well, and we gotta pick ourselves back up again. Here's a good spot for an update of our progress. Trail goes along here, drops down here, and then it's way down here. I think that is where the Tonto Trail is, across there where the Boucher Trail intersects it. This, I think, is Boucher Creek. It runs down to the river right down in here. The green area is the creek area. And here's where we came from. Way right in there. It's pretty brutal descent, I guess is the way to describe. We just reached the intersection of the Boucher Trail and the Tonto Trail. That way is Boucher Creek, which is where we're going to get water. We'll be headed this way tomorrow. So these rock, what are they called? Stacks, I think there's a word that starts with a C for them. Are marking the intersection of the trail. We're getting pretty tired for the day, aren't we now?
Yep.
Getting closer to the creek, you can hear the water running. And you look up and holy cow, it's hard not to feel it pretty insignificant down here. It's 11:35, so from 7 a.m. till now, so 4.5 hours it took us to make it. Pretty much constant hiking. But we're gonna get some food and then start filtering our water. And we got a nice flat spot to camp here tonight. Boucher Creek. We decided to take a little trip after we recovered here and just walk down the creek bed down to the river.
I'm gonna get a drink out of the Colorado.
All right. Back up the creek, back to our campsite. It was pretty neat. We got down there at the bottom and saw the rapids, and then there was a group of 16 rafters that were on a private trip, so they were all friends and guides, and so they rented their boats. The guy that won the lottery to get the rafting trip had been waiting for 25 years to do this trip, and so they all just have been doing it, and they're going for 21, what'd they say, 21 days, Niall? Yeah. Yep, 21 days. So they were fun to talk to. They offered us some food and stuff. Cattails. I don't know if this video does it justice, but sun's peeking out beneath the cloud there, and lights just shimmering off the creek as we walk up. We're getting ready to call it a night. It's getting dark. First stars out. We're in a cowboy camp tonight. No tent. Warm. You can hear the tree frogs. Niall's ready for bed too. Day 3 of our hike. It's a little before 6 o'clock in the morning here, and can't see the sun coming up, but you can see this. This is pretty neat, and especially the moon right up there. So I'm standing here by what I think are the remains of Louis Boucher's original cabin. We're ready to start our day 3 hike over to Hermit Rapids here in a little bit. All right, so we hiked up out of the creek. We got to those stacked rocks that we saw yesterday. They're called cairns, which is kind of funny because they're telling us what way to go. But we're on the Tonto Trail. It's kind of neat through here. There's all these cactuses, and they're getting ready to bloom. So Niall and I were just talking as we hike along the Tonto Trail that it's amazing that God would form this awesome canyon, have it all planned out, the layers of rock, just to display his wonders and his glory, but then at the same time have it planned out and designed to have these little cactuses that can survive on hardly any water, and you know, smaller in size, but you know, just as pretty and just as wondrous, I guess. Little bee in the flower.
Oh, I walked past it.
We just walked over a little hill and caught our first glimpse of Hermit Rapids right above Niall there. So that's where we are camping tonight. Another view of the rapids we were at yesterday, the beach. That's where Niall got his drink out of the Colorado. It's 10 a.m. We're not moving super quick. This is a little harder than I thought it was going to be today. We rounded this point here, and you got to kind of backtrack all the way around this canyon. It goes way up in here, and then we've been working on the trail back this way. So it's relatively flat, but it's a little discouraging when line of sights. We can see where we need to go, but we have to keep backtracking. Hermit Rapids, that's where we're going to be staying tonight. That's a big one. It's a 9 out of 10 for classification for rapids. So we still have about 3 miles to go. We're right on top of it, but we got to go way up this gorge, 1.5 miles, and then back down to camp on the beach tonight. Way up there is Yuma Point somewhere, and that's where we camped the first night. Somewhere up in here is Hermit's Rest. Beyond that, where we're hiking out the last day. We're getting closer. Right there, I think, is Hermit Creek campground. I pointed that out on one of the video clips from the first day. You can even hear the creek running and see it running. Look at all those gnats or ants or whatever they are in there. So I don't know if this video you can see it, but there's like this cobblestone path right here, right along the edge of my pool that goes up here and down along the creek there. And I guess this area, they developed it like in the early 1900s to be like a resort down here. Usually I can record and catch up with Kyle, but I think he sees the end in sight and he is just moving. I can't keep up with him. We're walking down Hermit Creek, down to Hermit Rapids. The trail is pretty well maintained, better than anything we've been on so far. 100 more yards and we'll be at the rapids, but I wanted to get this because I don't know if I'll be able to record it. But what's crazy, and this doesn't even do it justice, way up there, not quite at the top, but right on top of my stick, that's where we camp. This is a long ways down here. Made it! Yep. How we get water. We fill up this bag and it's got a filter here and it works out pretty good. No skip. Nope. Got a few. Good job.
2.
Cold?
Yes.
1, 2, 2.5. You record this time? Alright, so we're down here. It's end of day 3. We're about ready to make supper.
Yep.
We're at the end of Hermit Creek. We got Hermit Rapids behind us. So we're going to go over our character or Bible lesson today, right?
Yep.
So today, as we've hiked down, I've been just overwhelmed with how big the Grand Canyon is. Now, what did you say the first time you saw it?
It's bigger than the other one.
Yeah, we saw some small ones in Moab. And it's really hard from the pictures and the videos that we've taken to really grasp how big and how vast this is. And just it makes you feel, or makes me feel at least, pretty small. What about you?
Yeah.
So I've had a song stuck in my head the last few days, and Niall would agree that I've been like singing it and whistling it. How deep the Father's love for us, how vast beyond all measure. And so I've been thinking about God's love. You know, 1 John 3:1 says, behold what manner of love the Father has for us, that we've been called children of God. And Ephesians 3:18 talks about, may we have the power to, what's it say, grasp how wide and how high and deep is the love of Christ. And it got me thinking, you know, it's God's love is so big for us, how do we even measure it? And so Niall and I were talking, and now how do we measure God's love?
From Jesus dying on the cross.
From Jesus dying on the cross, you know, says just how much God loves us. That's how we measure it. And just like the Grand Canyon, unless you've seen it and experienced it, it's hard to see how big it is. And that's true, I think, of God's love too. Unless we really experience it, it's hard to really grasp how big it is. But, you know, that's why I'm a Christian, you know, because I know God loves for us. He died for us. And so just on day 3 of our hike, that's what we're focusing on is, and reflecting on is how much God truly loves for us. Behold what manner of love God has for us, you know, that He would call us children, and may we grasp how deep, how wide, and the depth of God's love. All right, so that's probably the last video here for today. We're going to wake up tomorrow morning, 3 a.m., try to start hiking about 3:34.
I thought we were going to start at 4.
4. All right. This is our cool campsite. Cowboy camping again tonight. The creek runs in through the river, and the rapids are right over there. 5 o'clock in the morning. A little later than we wanted to get started, but I woke up before 4, and it was pretty dark out, so we just kind of hung out here. It looks way more light here in this picture. The moon in the background, that's not the sun. Niall and I are ready to go.
Yep.
Perseverance today. Seeing it through, finishing it. So 9.7 miles up, about a 4,000 to 4,500 foot gain. Onward and upward.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. Here we go again. Hiking out of Hermit Rapids by the creek. It's 30 minutes before sunrise. One and a half miles down, 8.2 to go. This is where we hike out of Hermit's Creek. If we kept going up, we get the Hermit Creek campground. I made this little marker yesterday because we walked down from the campground. I didn't want to go off that trail in the dark, and not this one. Switchbacks. You can see all the rocks that they've put up here. This is the actually part that I took a video of yesterday that was kind of in the shade that you couldn't see completely well, but up and up we go. Here's where we came from. That's Hermit's Creek down there. And then up there, the sun coming around this area here, that's what's called Cope's Butte. And then that's where kind of where we're going. We're going up here, I believe, switchbacks, and then we're getting all the way to the top of that. And then I think it's just kind of flat for the rest of the way, but that's like a 2,000 foot elevation gain in a very short period of time. We just got to the junction of the Tonto Trail and the Hermit Trail, and this is the direction we're headed. Supposedly it's hard. It's like cathedral stairs, so we'll see right now.
Yep.
Yep. Switchbacks. Niall's leading the way and kicking butt and taking names. Up and up we go. Grand Canyon expert. Actually, I think we're on the cathedral stairs right now, if that's what they're called. But anyways, it's just more steep switchbacks, but they're maintained. We're going up there somewhere. It's going all right, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody back in the day put a lot of effort into making this trail, moving these rocks, making these switchbacks. So we appreciate that, and we get to enjoy it. This trail down here, that's what we hiked up to. Niall is getting tired, not of the hike, but of me recording.
Yes.
So we made it to the top of probably the hardest part today. I'm just going to show, this is right there, Cope's Butte, which I showed earlier. The cathedral stairs are right over that, and then they just go down. We're still in the shade. Yuma Point, way up there. That's where we camped again. So it's only about 8 o'clock. So we're gonna make it. Plenty of time. Awesome. And if you look straight across, you can kind of judge, oh, we're this high up. So we still have that much to go. But the views are still absolutely spectacular. Progress video where we came from. So we started down here. You can kind of see the trails. There's some switchbacks right in here.
It looks way easier from here than it actually is.
Yeah. I thought that was the cathedral stairs, but that's wrong. Cathedral stairs you can't see. They're over top this little hump here. This is Cope's Butte here. So we're on the trail between the cathedral stairs and Santa Maria Spring. It's pretty flat, pretty well maintained. There's Yuma Point. There's where we camped the first night. And Hermit's Rest, where we're headed. Home is just over that mountain. We're looking at the map. I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map. To figure out where we are. Niall thinks we have about, what, 2.5 miles left?
Yeah.
All right, I think it's more like 3.5.
One or the other.
One or the other. So it's neat seeing where we hiked. So on the first day, we rounded, I think it was right up out on that layer right there. There's a trail that went all the way out. I've shown this a dozen times to Yuma Point right there where we camped. So now up there pushing the pace. Look, a little cabin thing. So I believe we're at Santa Maria Spring, which if we needed water, we could fill up here. If we don't, it is about 2.2 miles left, 1,600 foot elevation gain before we are done. Cool little spot to hang out here, huh? Here's the spring that they have set up. Just a trough. Niall has completed the full circle of our Boucher Hermit Trail loop. I'm about ready to also. There it is. All right, so now all we have left is to get up there somewhere. Piece of cake. The last little segment of our trip, we only have about 500 feet of climb left to go, and this is pretty neat. I think ever since I was about Niall's age, I've always wanted to hike the Grand Canyon. I'm 40, Niall's 13, and we're gonna make it. One of my favorite quotes is by a guy named Harnish Brewer, and he says, "Don't wait for permission to be great." And what that means to me is that a lot of times we sit around, we dream of things, and we never actually do them. But Niall and I did this, and so we learned a lot as we walked this way. Niall, what was the first thing we learned the first day, our first character lesson?
Don't turn back.
Don't turn back. We don't remember those in history that turn back because they're wusses. What was the second thing we learned on the second day?
We don't always see the trail, but God does.
God does, and we get strength from Him. So we can't always see the trail, the path, but God gives us strength. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. What was the thing we learned on the third day?
How we measure God's love.
How do we measure God's love?
Through Jesus dying on the cross.
So Jesus died on the cross just like the Grand Canyon is vast, huge, wide, deep. So is God's love for us. How deep the Father's love for us. How vast beyond our measure. That He would give His only Son to make this rich a treasure And day 4, we're almost out. What are we learning today, Niall?
Perseverance.
Perseverance, don't quit. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it all the way up.
Yep.
One final good glimpse of the canyon. Niall said, now that's a view. Might be our last view. Canyon might not be here because Niall is absolutely killing it on the way up, isn't he? Canyon may be gone. No finish line, no welcoming committee, no congratulations. Just something that Niall and I accomplished together that we can always look back on.
We did it.
So we made the hike. We got to the Jeep Gladiator. There it is. So as awesome as this was, we are excited to get home. That's where our real love is, where our family is, where the girls are, where Hyla is. So thank you to my wife and to my girls for allowing us to do this trip. What do you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, so now off to the gift shop to see if they're open to get some presents.